Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT08, and BT08 offers us lots of new and powerful cards to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And the deck that I'm going to be taking a look at today is going to be the Lilith Loop, or Creepy Loop, 7 Great Demon Loop. I don't know, it's just a loop deck that's essentially trying to utilize what Lilithmon was doing before, where we're going to be trying to loop not only our mid-level Digimon, but our high-level Digimon as well. So the whole core concept is we're going to be able to use our level 6 to easily go into our level 7, to reset up our field with level 5s, to then reuse our level 6, while reusing our level 5s because they have Rush, and we even have a level 4 that has Rush that we could also take advantage of. So without further ado, onto the deck profile. Starting off with the Digitama, I'm only going to be running 4 copies of DemiMeramon. Because this is a hardcore combo based deck, we need the deck to be as consistent as we can possibly make it, so DemiMeramon is just the best Digitama that we have for the job. If you wanted to run a 5th Digitama, you could. It doesn't necessarily matter, so what DemiMeramon is doing for the deck is he has an inheritable ability of on delete, we get to draw 1 card and then discard 1 card. That way we could try to not only dig through our deck, but set up our trash selectively of the cards that we need to put in there. Next, on to the rookies. Continuing on with the trend of increasing the deck's overall consistency and combo potential, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gabumon. So this is the BT02 Gabumon, and he has an on-delete ability similar to DemiMeramon's, where we get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1. So this, in combination with DemiMeramon, means that we get to draw 3 cards, discard 2, which is just seeing a lot of cards all at once, on top of any other on-delete abilities that are going to be paired up with those 2 cards. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Gazimon. So Gazimon is just the anti-meta Floodgate rookie to try to stop the opponent's memory manipulating shenanigans. So he has the all turns ability for when he's statically on the field, where your opponent can't gain memory except by Tamer effects, trying to limit and reduce the amount of actions that they could take unless they get rid of Gazimon, which is forcing the opponent to reallocate their resources to try to deal with this card before they can make their plays possible. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 1 copy of Elecmon. So Elecmon is just another really decent card at trying to act as some solid removal. He himself natively has an on-delete ability, where when he gets deleted, then we get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon, which ideally is going to be their floodgates. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Kinkakumon. So Kinkakumon is a really good card for the deck because we are trying to play the full promote package, and it's a good card to combo with promote. So it has a nice inheritable ability where when we attack, we get to trash 1 card from our hand to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon to get rid of those pesky rookies to try to avoid as much problems as we could possibly avoid. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Genkuman. So Genkuman is another card for the promote package, and this is a really good card because it's helping with our resource generation. So it has a nice inheritable ability where during your turn once per turn, when you trash a card from your hand using a card effect, then we get to gain 1 memory to try to make some of those plays a little bit more tempo efficient. And then to round out the promote package, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Promote. So Promote is a level 4 that just natively has the Rush ability, so if we need to aggro with this card and try to res him off of some of our res abilities, then this is a really good card to do that with. Then on top of that, he also has an on-play ability for us to try to take advantage of, where we get to shove a Kinkakumon and a Ginkakumon from our trash underneath this card. Then, if we place 2 cards underneath him, then we get to draw a card and gain a memory. So he's also rewarding us with some extra resources for utilizing the full package. Then, obviously, with the full package and him having Rush, he could swing right away, have us discard a card, pop a level 3, then gain a memory back. So it's just a good combo card with how the deck wants to be played as one of the best res targets. Then on top of that, he even has extra usability in terms of how we could play him because of his 2 ways we could digivolve him, either for 2 on top of a level 3 or for 1 on top of a level 4 to make more combo plays possible. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Eyesmon Scatter Mode. So Eyesmon Scatter Mode is still just that good of a card for the deck to utilize as the main engine on helping with its overall consistency. So the reason why we're so light on rookies is because we actually don't mind hard playing a Scatter Mode because it has a low play cost of 4 compared to a lot of other level 4s. Then on top of that, it has an on-delete ability native to him, so he's going to be one of the main stopping points on trying to trigger our on-delete effects for the overall consistency, because his on-delete ability states that we get to draw 3 cards and then discard 2 cards. So him in combination with DemiMeramon in combination with Gabumon allows us to see 6 cards and discard 4 cards, so that's just a lot of cards we could see all at once to try to help set up our hand to allow us to try to combo with and set up our trash as well all at the same time. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 1 copy of Eyesmon. So unfortunately, Eyesmon did get hit and is limited to 1 as of BT08, so we can only run 1 copy. But we still want to run the 1 copy because we're already running Scatter Mode, and Eyesmon is still just that good to combo with some certain lines of play that the deck has available to it. What's making this card so good is the fact that it's one of the best discard fodders that we could have, where when this card is discarded from our hand using a card effect, if we have a Scatter Mode in our trash, then we get to play this card for free. So the whole idea on how we could utilize this card to be aggressive is we could play him for free off of our Scatter Mode and then Digivolve him for 1 into a Promote, or Digivolve him into one of our level 5s with Rush to be able to get some cheap swings with right away. But regardless, just utilizing him as a solid level 4 is still very, very powerful because he has a nice ability when he's on the field, where during your turn, for each of your scatter modes in your trash, then this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP, so he could potentially make himself a rather strong level 4, on top of helping set up some of our rushes, or just being a free Digimon to start climbing up the stages with again. And speaking of climbing up our stages, next onto the level 5s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Cerberusmon. So Cerberusmon is another really good card to combo with our Gabumon and DemiMeramon because it has a very similar style ability to Scatter Mode, except it's not as deep, where it's an on-delete ability. We get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1. So with Cerberusmon, Gabumon, and DemiMeramon, we'll potentially draw 5 cards and discard 3, which is pretty okay, but it's still a very good effect to have to combo with nonetheless. Especially since we're going to be running 4 copies of Cerberusmon Werewolf mode as one of the best cards to combo with it, rounding out the Cerberusmon package for purple. So this is going to be a level 5 with the Rush ability, so if we wanted to, we could Digivolve him on top of a level 4 that we rezzed and be able to swing right away with, which is making him really, really good to use since he also has some slightly higher DP than your average level 5, on top of the fact that he also has an on-play ability that lets us delete one of our Cerberusmons to be able to gain 9 memory, effectively making him free to play. But we could take advantage of this ability in various other ways in the deck to be able to actually gain memory to allow us to extend some of our plays to make more powerful plays possible. Next, on to the level 6s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Lilithmon. So Lilithmon is still that good of a card to run in the deck because not only is she a 7 Great Demon Lord, which creepymon helps set up, and we could play cards that lean a little bit more into 7 Great Demon Lord synergies, but she's just a good card to help loop because, well, the deck was running her before, and there's no reason not to run her now. So what she's doing is she has 2 abilities that are playing around with options. So her first ability is a when Digivolving ability, where if we have 10 or more cards in our trash, then we get to return 2 purple option cards from our trash back into our hand, to then use those options for her secondary ability, where during your turn once per turn, when you use an option card, then we get to gain 2 memory, which is either A, making our options cheaper, or B, netting us some memory because of their cost to allow us to make more powerful plays possible. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Nidhoggmon. So I was thinking about changing the deck's ratios with Nidhoggmon and going down him by 1 and going up on either creepymon or Lilithmon by 1, just because he's a pretty decent card, but we don't necessarily need to rely as heavily on him as some of our other cards. But regardless, he's still a really good card for the deck, acting as one of the primary cards we want to be discarding, because he has an ability where when he's trashed from our hand using a card effect, which is what a lot of our low end is going to be doing, then we get to gain 1 memory. so he's just helping with the resource management of the deck to allow more powerful plays to happen. Then on top of that, if you are backed into a corner and you do need to use him as a level 6, then he's a pretty okay level 6 to use, where when digivolving up into him, if we trash one card from our hand, then we get to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, so it's just a little bit extra removal if we really need it. And then the last level 6 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Creepymon. So Creepymon is the newest card into the deck, and he's just another level 6 that we could have his own set of loops with that run in tandem to how Lilithmon wants to play. So what we're trying to do is take advantage of this Digimon's when digivolving ability, where we get to trash the top 2 cards of our deck for each of the opponent's Digimon in play. Then if we trashed 4 or more cards by this effect, we get to play a level 5 or lower purple Digimon for free, and the craziest part is we do get their on-play effects. So if we do have 2 level 5s just sitting on our field, then we could use Creepymon to be able to replay a Cerberusmon Werewolf mode to pop the Cerberusmon, actually gain memory that way because we didn't actually hard play from our hand the Cerberusmon Werewolf mode, to be able to apply extra pressure onto the opponent and gain some memory to make more powerful plays possible, thanks to Cerberusmon Werewolf's mode's ability to gain lots of memory. But what this card is also doing is he also has a nice when attacking ability that's actively trying to harm the opponent, where when we attack once per turn, for every 10 cards in our trash, we get to trash the top 3 cards from our opponent's deck, and this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP until the end of the turn, making him a very aggressive level 6 Digimon for the deck to incorporate. And then the last Digimon of the deck, and only level 7 of the deck, is going to be Omnimon Zwart. So Omnimon Zwart is what makes the, in quotation marks, loops possible because of his when digivolving ability, where we get to trash the top 3 cards of our deck, not only filling up our trash, but allowing us to also res up to 2 purple or black Digimon with a play cost of 8 or less from our trash for free. And we do get their on-play effects if they had any. So we could use this to be able to res whatever Digimon we need to be able to continue the loops going. Then on top of that, what's making him actually able to loop is a when attacking ability, where we get to return a level 6 Digimon from this Digimon's Digivolution source back into our hand, and we get to delete one of the opponent's unsuspended Digimon with a play cost of 12 or less. So the whole idea is the effects we're trying to loop are our when digivolving abilities, so that way we basically go up into a level 6, use its when digivolving ability to be able to help try to gain some memory in some way, shape, or form. Then we get to go into a Zwart, then we get a swing with Zwart, add that level 6 back into our hand, spawn some level 5s, and then go into a level 6 again to try to do more powerful things. So that's kind of the whole intended line of play on what you're supposed to do with Zwart. And to help us with our resource generation, onto our options, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Jackraid. So Jackraid is still one of the best option cards to play in tandem with Lilithmon because it costs 0 to play, so having an option that costs nothing means we're going to be netting 2 memory to use for more powerful things, and Jackraid also helps us gain more memory, where its main ability states that we get to gain 1 memory for every 10 cards in our trash. So in the early stages of the game, this isn't going to be that useful, but in the late stages of the game, this could gain us 1 to possibly 3 memory, and that's just a lot of extra memory to be playing around with. On top of the fact that it also is a really good security threat, where it's basically a hammer spark in security, where its security ability states that we get to gain 2 memory to possibly ruin the opponent's tempo. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies from Calling from the Darkness. So Calling from the Darkness is one of the most important options in this deck, because once we see one of any of our cards, we'll have access to that card as long as we have Calling from the Darkness. So its main ability states that we get to delete one of our Digimon, then we get to return up to 2 purple Digimon from our trash back into our hand. So even if we don't have a Digimon on our field to delete, we still get to add the 2 cards back, and we could add basically almost any Digimon back we want outside of Omnimon Zwart. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Dead or Alive. So Dead or Alive is kind of a flex spot for the deck. This could really be whatever you want it to be in terms of either A, fixing your ratios, or B, just playing different cards. But I do like what Dead or Alive is doing in combination with Werewolf mode, because it just allows us to actually gain some memory off of Werewolf mode if we're able to combo with him. So what this card is doing is it has the main ability where we get to play a purple level 5 Digimon from our trash for free. We do get its on play ability off, and this card natively costs 8, but with Lilithmon it could cost 6, and with Werewolf mode we'll actually be gaining 1 memory back if we're able to delete a Cerberusmon off of our Werewolf mode. We don't necessarily care about its interaction with Lucemon, although if you want to detect the deck to incorporate Lucemon, then you're more than welcome to do that, but it's not needed. And it has the nice security ability of activating its main to potentially be a security threat, to have a nice setup on our field to be able to do whatever we feel like we need to or can do based on what we have in our hand and trash. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Deathclaw. So Deathclaw is in the deck just to act as some solid removal, not only just trying to get rid of our own Digimon to try to trigger their on-delete abilities ourselves, but to also remove the opponent's mid to low level Digimon. So its main ability that's allowing us to do that states that we get to delete one of our Digimon to delete one of the opponent's Digimon that's level 4 or lower, making it just a really good card to combo and control with. Then on top of that, its security ability is basically almost activating its main, except that we just get to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon outright without the need of a sacrifice. And then the last option of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Win Rate 60%. So Win Rate 60% is the card that's supposed to be comboing with Zwart to be able to make Zwart a little bit more efficient to use. So as long as we have a Tamer in play, then we get to utilize this option without meeting its color requirements. So we do run a couple of Tamers to be able to take advantage of that ability to actually make it easy to play. Then the main ability is what we're actually looking to utilize the card for, because it states that the next time one of our Digimon digivolves this turn, we get to trash 1 card from our hand of the same color as the digivolving Digimon to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 4, to be able to easily and efficiently Digivolve into a Zwart to try to not pass our turn, so that way we could actually utilize Zwart to be able to loop our Digimon. Then it has the security ability where we get to add this card back into our hand to use it for whenever we feel like we need to. And then lastly, onto the Tamers, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Matt Ishida. So Matt Ishida is going to be the deck's dedicated memory fixing Tamer, so if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just always hard set it to 3 to try to make our plays as efficient as we possibly can. Then he also has a nice on-play ability where we get to return 1 purple Digimon or option card from our trash back into our hand, so that way we have another way to be able to reuse our Digimon and options, so it's not like running a low amount of a particular Digimon is bad, because once we see it once, we have multiple different ways on being able to revive it again and again. And then the last card of the deck and last Tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Analog Youth. So Analog Youth is still just one of the best setup and payout cards for what we're already trying to do. So for the low play cost of 2, it has the on-play ability where we get to look at the top 3 cards of our deck, add 1 Digimon from among them into our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. So it's helping with the deck's overall consistency at trying to find the parts and pieces that we need while filling up our trash, so we could have a particular trash count to be able to actually trigger our abilities. Then we also have an upside for utilizing this card, where during all turns, when one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution sources is deleted, we get to suspend this Tamer to gain a memory and hatch a Digi-Egg in an empty space in our raising area. So we don't necessarily care about the hatching part, we just care about the memory gaining part, because we have ways and we do sometimes want to delete our own level 5 or higher Digimon to make more efficient lines of play. But there's still just a whole bunch of different tech and tools to incorporate into the deck, all depending on what you're actually looking to gain and what your main loop is going to be. So if you wanted to, you could think about running Tsukaimon as another inheritable on-delete ability for us to try to take advantage of with our Cerberusmon and our Eyesmon scatter modes, where we get to gain a memory for the Digimon's deletion. But if we do want to just try to continue with the overall consistency, we could play something like a Labramon, where it's just another good on-play ability to try to loot through our deck. And if we do want to try to reuse our Demon Lords, and our Demon Lords do end up getting into our trash, then we do have something like Itmon to be able to reuse them. Or if you wanted to, you could even think about using Dracomon to be able to reuse some specific options. Then we do have another floodgate in the form of Psychmon to try to prevent the opponent from reducing their play costs, because we don't necessarily care about reducing our own, because we're just playing them for free or we're hard playing them for their exact costs. Then if you wanted to, because we are playing Dead or Alive, you could think about running Lucimon and a little bit of a Lucimon package. Or if you wanted to, you could lean a little bit heavier into Creepymon's whole package and run some self-milling. So Soulmon is a really good card to reward us for self-milling by gaining us a memory to make going into Creepymon a little bit more efficient. Then we also do have Witchmon as another card to act as a security threat to be able to climb the stages with, and another sacrifice outlet type card to try to help control the field. It could be something like Chimeramon, because we have multiple different ways to be able to play level 5s for free. And then going in hand with the Lucimon package, we could also think about running Chaos Mode, because it's another really good level 5 that we could play for free. It combos with 7 Great Demon Lord synergy, it combos with Creepymon, and it combos with Dead or Alive. So the deck still has a room to be able to try to utilize this card. Then if we do want to just try to run some generic level 4 res and try to chip the opponent out, then we do have Mastimon to help us with that game plan. Or if we just want to lean a little bit heavier into the revival and rush aspects, we could also think about utilizing Anubismon as another good supporting mega. Or if you're just looking for something to help you set up, then you could run something like Junimon to not only act as a good threat for the opponent on a level 6 body because of the retaliation ability, but the when Digivolving ability of Milling 3, which could combo with Soulmon, could be pretty good, on top of the fact that she gets to return a Digimon from our trash back into our hand to be able to grab back our Omnimon Zwarts to figure out a way to reuse those cards. Then we do have some other really solid options we could think about if we are worried about the opponent and we do need some more threats and removal. We could run something like Flybullet to just straight up delete any level 6 or lower Digimon. Or we could try to run Pandemonium Flame as another card that's acting very similar to Deathclaw, except it could have a wider reach depending on what we're deleting or what we're trying to delete. Then we do have some other good consistency tools for the deck to try to incorporate, so you could run Purple Memory Boost or Mist Memory Boost as extra memory boosts to gain instant memory later, and try to dig through our deck and set up our trash. But this is just my interpretation of what a purple loop deck is going to be looking like in BT08. You could spin the deck into more Lilithmon's favor and tech it more towards her, or you could spin it into more Creepymon's favor and tech it more towards him. But it's cool at the fact that we do have lots of flexibility on what we could do with the deck, depending on who you want your main boss monster to be to try to set up your loops. But the fact that they do go into the same deck and can be played in the same deck just make it a little bit stronger than it's been. Even with the Eyesmon limitation, I think the deck could still be really fun and really powerful, all depending on what you're looking to gain and what the meta is shaping up to be. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.